All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome. We are so glad that you are here. We know this is a busy time and your focus is pulled in many different directions. So thank you for being here. First off, I'll just take a minute to introduce Kuali and give a brief overview of Kuali Build, our forms and workflow solution, and then we'll move into a demo showcasing the benefits institutions can expect with Kuali Build. A few housekeeping items and things to mention for today's call. All attendees will be on mute throughout the presentation. However, if you have any questions for us, please check on the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window and feel free to type in the questions throughout the call. And this webinar is being recorded and will be sent to all attendees following the webinar. And just to make sure you're in the right place, this is streamlining student-facing forms in minutes with no-code automation with Kuali Build. So with that, we are going to go ahead and get started. The session description, just so again, make sure everyone's in the right place and we all know what we're going to do today. Understanding Kuali Build and how it might elevate and apply impact for the Kuali community with no-code forms and workflow tools like Kuali Build and registrars and provosts can create mobile-ready, automated, and secure forms request processes with no coding required. My name is Danny O'Rourke. I will be presenting today, and then I am joined by Joel Delin. He will be demoing Kuali Build live, and we are so excited to be here with y'all today. For this session, we're going to begin with an overview of Kuali Build and curriculum management and look at how you can elevate the impact with Kuali through both tools and through what you're doing on campus already. To provide background, Kuali was born out of the collaborative efforts in higher education in 2004. Kuali disrupted the market by bringing something new and fresh to the world of EdTech. And because of this original vision, by 2014, we became a company building sustainable modular solutions built for and hosted in the cloud. Kuali's portfolio available today includes Kuali Student, which is the curriculum and catalog management tools, Kuali Build, no-code apps, Kuali Research, compliance, sponsored programs, Kuali Financials, and Kuali Ready, business continuity planning tools. For today's audience, we trust you are familiar with our curriculum and catalog tool, but we will touch on that briefly, or regardless of whatever curriculum system you're using. And we are also going to shift our focus of this presentation to the second module listed, and that is Kuali Build. At Kuali, our focus on implementation for student CM catalog and build is to be able to meet project objectives and reach desired outcomes by applying the appropriate experience, which is a collaborative partnership approach between Kuali and the institutions we serve. So let's take a step back and let's start with a high-level overview of Kuali Build. Kuali Build is a no-code form and workflow solution built exclusively for higher education with higher education. We developed Kuali Build because of the need the higher ed community has to enable student success and empower the campus and their teams. Though one of the biggest obstacles to that is dated systems and manual processes. So to solve this problem, we focused on the sweet spot. We found that solutions that existed on campus fell into complex systems and simple systems. They were either complex enough to meet institutional business needs, but were lacking in user experience and ease, or they were user-friendly and easy to use, but lacked deeper functionality to truly meet institutional governance needs. To dive further into this, on one side of the coin, there are powerful, complex business systems. Think your ERP, ECM, student information system. These meet business requirements from IT, but they require an engineer to build processes and they're expensive to purchase and maintain. On the other side, since those bigger systems are not accessible to business users, shadow systems pop up on campus. Think Google Forms. These are easy and simple to use and inexpensive, but they don't meet all of the security, scalability, and business requirements from IT. So there's a sweet spot in the middle, a system that is easy to use, built on core design principles that empowers business users to do some pretty powerful things that a system IT will actually sign off on. It's also reasonably expensive and doesn't require an engineer to use. So we want to give you a quick preview of what this looks like. Kuali Build stands out in a way because it's easy and fun to build. We have a consistent design on focus. We keep it simple, we non-text speak and award-winning design in mind. We have powerful integrations. Many customers use Kuali Build for system orchestration or connecting LOB applications together and updating them when complex activities take place. Rather than needing a developer to do this, once integrations are set up with our easy to use API gadgets, business users can call on these integrations in all of their processes. Hierarchy support. And that also includes hierarchy support. That we know how complicated university hierarchies and institutional hierarchies can be since we were born out of higher education. We focused extensive efforts on ensuring Kuali Build integrates with all forms and workflow into institution identity management, enabling the consistent knowledge of and routing to the right person in the role at the department who seems to be changing every other month. And it's also pricing that's built for higher education. We focus on a pricing model that meets the challenges specific to higher education. Our unlimited model empowers the department or campus to add in as many users, use as many forms, and accept as many submissions as possible, providing an opportunity to democratize access to the entire tool. There are no hidden fees or unpredictable charges at all. Kuali Build is offered with different licensing options: enterprise, department, and 10 applications. Licensing options for the enterprise license includes unlimited apps, unlimited app creation. Anyone can create apps, forms, and workflow. Anyone can fill out and submit forms. The department license is unlimited applications, can be created by anyone in a specific department or office, and anyone can fill out and submit forms. And then our introductory package or license is our 10 applications. Limited to 10 apps, can be created by anyone at the institution, and forms can be filled out and submitted by anyone. All right, now let's consider Kuali Build in relation to Kuali Curriculum Management or your curriculum system on campus. Kuali Curriculum Management is purpose-built for your curricular forms. For example, purpose-built content types include courses, programs, policies, experiences, specializations. Actions on those types of curricular content include proposed to edit, add, delete a program, proposed to edit, add, delete a course, etc. All the other ways that our partner institutions are leveraging the various content types. Enter Build. So the difference is that Build is for more of the general purpose, no code forms and workflow. So let's consider two examples. Let's say I'm a registrar and I'm using or thinking about using Kuali Curriculum Management, and I'm exploring Build. The question you might ask is, what about supplemental curricular forms that fall outside of the scope of those previous examples? You can use Kuali Build. Another question you might ask, what about other forms that my department is responsible for, but aren't necessarily supplemental curricular forms? You can use Kuali Build. Momentarily, we will shift gears to learn more about Build in real time. And before we do, I'd like to call out some examples of applications, no code forms and workflow that we built for demo purposes to give you an idea and some use cases relevant to the provost, registrars, and admissions officers. Some examples include academic appeal, declaration for a dual degree program, pass-fail forms, undergraduate overload request, pledge to go green, change of address, permission of instructor, change of dissertation advisor or reading committee member, permit to audit a course, and accessibility forms. So these are just a sampling of some of the forms that our institutions are leveraging inside Kuali Build to supplement as well as have standalone against their curricular items and forms on campus. To build on the program change request that I mentioned just previously, as an example to build a form used in your registrar's office, I'd like to give an outline of how this form comes into existence with Kuali Build. And a side note, one thing about this, since this example does include student data, Kuali Build enables you to be and meet FERPA compliance. So focusing on the program change request, the first thing you would do is build a new application. An application, I've used that word a lot, is a container for forms and workflow and documents, all of the things contained within an application, which we will talk more about shortly. Next step, we will want to design a form so that the student can fill out the information requested. taking your existing forms and transforming them with Build, or creating new forms altogether. After that, you will create a workflow so that when the student submits the form, it will kick off the workflow process. And for example, let's say that workflow begins with an approval from the department chair of the requested department that correlates to the requested program, followed by the college dean of the requested department, and then an acknowledgement by the registrar, and finally, a notification to the student on the decision for their program request change. All of that can be tailored to your institution, not only just your branding look and feel, but your governance processes as well. This was a very high-level walkthrough of some of the main steps with creating a new application. And I wanted to pause really quickly before we jump into the demo to give you an idea of some of the features that we want you to keep an eye out for. We've called 6 of them out here, but there are countless others. And this is a good time to remind everyone that, like Kuali Build and other Kuali products such as CM and CAT, Curriculum Management and CAT, all of our products are on continuous delivery release, and Build is on a continuous delivery release. We release new features to Build all the time. So keep an eye out for, when we're in the demo, the form builder. Complete control and flexibility on the design of your form. Previewing the output is made simple in the form viewer to see how your documents will render. The workflow builder. Build empowers governance rule-based workflow with conditional routing logic, drag and drop functionality, and individual step configurations with denial routes. Reporting. Each app has its own searching, filtering, and reporting dashboard to expose the data captured within each form. Additionally, users can save filters and searches for quick return as needed. Identity, SSO protocols, SSO permissions, users, groups, tailored notifications based on role-based workflow. API integrations, seamlessly connecting and centralizing data from external systems on campus, and Kuali products to elevate form submissions and reduce data inconsistencies. And security. Each application allows for tailored security in roles to ensure the right people are engaging with the data. So at this point, I am going to transition to Joel, who will lead a live demo of Kuali Build.
Hi, everyone. What I'm showing you now is Kuali Build. I would love to have this be as interactive as we can have. We have a lot of participants, but if you have any questions, please send them out and one of the folks here will read them off to me. What you're seeing right here is our dashboard for Kuali Build. When Danny says that you can have anyone in the institution make these applications, either in the department or in the institution, that's actually up to you. So let's say that you got an enterprise license, you could limit the number of people who can create these apps to whatever list you want, or you could make it be more open. Same thing within your department. If you'd like 5 people in a group to be creating applications for the entire department, you can do that. Or if you'd like anyone in the group to be able to create these applications, you can do that too. An application, an app, is basically a collection of a form and a workflow. So an example of some of the forms we created: a program change request, a no-cost extension. This is for our research colleagues who need to be able to request an extension for a grant that doesn't have any kind of financial implications. The ability to change a subject code and have the change of a subject code go through an approval process. These are just a few different examples. With each of these, you have the ability to create a new app, and we make it very easy to just pick an icon and give it a name. Demo app. And let's pick this, let's have this be orange. When I create that, that app is now created, and it has the ability to see all the documents that anyone has filled out using the form that I'm going to create. It gives you the ability to create a form from scratch. And it gives you the ability to configure a workflow. So if we have time, I'll come back and just create something from scratch. But for now, I'm going to go to an application that we've already created. These little icons end up showing up as icons when you post the link somewhere. So once you've created the application, people can either go to here to run the application, or what's more likely is that you'll create a link And in the link, you'll put it on a website somewhere. And that link will have a little icon like this. When people bring it up, it shows up in the tab at the top of the browser. So I'm going to go into the program change request form. So here's a program change request form. And the form looks like this. So we've created a section, and this just cleans up the form a little bit. It makes it easier to read by having different sections of the form. In this case, it's a very simple form, but some of our forms can be very, very complicated or complex. And that's in some cases, that's a good thing. You want the ability to kind of have a lot of variability. Using these sections also allows you to break up your form into sections. So it gives a little of table of contents for the form. So if it's a very long form, when you click on the table of contents for the program change request section, it'll take you to that portion of the form. Or if you click on the next one, it'll take you to a second portion of the form. So it helps with navigatability. So we have a section here, and we have a field called student name. So this information is actually coming from the logged in user. Because Build can be connected to your single sign-on service, then we have the ability to know who is the person that is logged in. So we dragged that field here as a form designer, and now when the person logs in, it automatically shows up. Similarly, I dragged as a form designer the field for advisor, put it right here, and because I dragged that field and it was already connected to the student name, I, as a form designer, I didn't have to worry about doing any kind of service connections or integrations or anything like this. I dragged the field onto the form, and when the person logs in, the form automatically knows both the name of the person and the advisor. So there's this powerful capability that you, as an institution, can create some integrations, and those integrations are encapsulated in these gadgets. So when I drag these gadgets onto the form, it automatically fills in the data when the person uses the form. So what are some of the gadgets? We have checkboxes, rich text, long text, short text, drop-down menus and date pickers, numbers. There's a variety of different gadgets that are useful. I'm going to give you an example of one. If you want on a form to have a signature, you can take this signature gadget and you just drag it onto the form, and it will show you, well, where do I want to put it? Notice it gives you a drop location. This is very important for drag and drop to make it easy to know on your form where you're going to put something. And we're going to put it right here at the bottom. So we'll put it right there. So now we let go, we're going to call it signature. So now I'm going to take a look at the form. So if we preview the form, it shows you you've got your branding for your institution. This is what the form will look like. Notice that if I make the window smaller, it will automatically change the fields so that it's a better mobile experience. You don't want a really wide form with a bunch of columns right next to each other if you're using a mobile device. You want the fields to automatically realign themselves, so when you're scrolling on your device, you see all the fields, and we do all of that automatically. We're also accessible, so automatically. So when you create your forms, we make sure that they're accessible and you don't have to worry about that at all. So notice this signature form. So when somebody taps on this, they can type in their name, Joel Lynn, or they could draw their signature, or they could have an image there that they upload. So that's just one example of a gadget that we use in order to, that you can drag on the form. So I'm going to stop. It looks like there's some questions. How are apps being managed with everyone building? Thanks for the question, Claire. The answer is that this tool right here allows you to see all applications. So these are applications that are being built, my apps that I've built, as well as the apps that have been shared with me. So you can see all of the enterprise apps in one location. And the only apps that you will see are the apps that you have access to, but as an administrator, you can see all of them. So for example, with this app here, I want to give access to certain administrators to be able to use this app, or I want to give access to certain authenticated users to be able to use the app, or I want this app to be anonymous when people fill it out, or I want submitters to be able to create documents but not read documents. And then I can create new roles. So we have a cascading set of permissions from an administrator who can basically do everything to the ability for somebody to have their own app and give people access or not access to that app and different roles in between. And those are configurable by using out of the box roles here or creating new roles. Hopefully that answered your question, Claire. Are there any other questions before I continue?
So we have one in the chat window, Joel. He's asking, can you do custom icons?
You cannot do custom icons today. It's something that we've considered. We have a, as Danny mentioned, we have a continuous delivery type of model. So we're coming up with new functionality all the time. And so we really listen to our customers. If there's something that you want to be able to do, we'd love to hear those ideas. And that's not something we've heard a lot, that people want that, but I can see where it would be really valuable. So thanks for suggesting that. There's another question. John asks, externally, is there a landing page that someone could go to and search available apps to fill out? Not create, but like a public access to find apps easily rather than linking to a web page. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. The place that you would go to find the apps right now is here. So if you gave people access to come to this, they could see the apps that they're able to actually access. Right now, we don't have a portal which has all of the apps besides this one, but it's an interesting idea. Shannon, any other thoughts on that?
The only thing that I would say here is, like you mentioned, that people would not have access to apps that they've not been given access to. Likewise, if they've been given limited access to an app, that would be reflected as well. So if they're only given the ability to create a form, for example, if they click on the icon, that's where it would take them. It would take them to the create a form. They wouldn't be able to see anything else in the app.
So the answer to your question is we do have that. It's this form right here, or this app right here. And this app would only show you the things that you have access to. So you could conceivably say, there are 100 people in our department, or there are 1,000 students at my school. We're going to give them all access to this, but they can only see the things that they actually can, the apps they can fill out. And if that's the case, they would all show up here. There is no current search box on this. So it's an interesting idea for us to consider some kind of portal where people could search the apps. If right now we don't have that many apps out there. We don't have any institutions that have hundreds of apps yet, but we do have institutions with dozens of apps. So it's growing very fast.
Joel, there's a second follow-up question on that. What about external linking to the application? Can you embed that in a website?
Yes, you can. So when I'm in this program change request form, when I'm ready to publish this, I can publish whatever changes I make. So if I'm about to publish the app, so this app was already existing, I made some changes, I want to publish the changes. So when I do that, I go to publish and it shows me everything that I've changed. I can discard this and not publish it, or I can say, yep, these are all the things that I want. If I want to see more information about that change, I can view it and it will take me to the form and show me the particular change that that's talking about if I'm confused about what this means. And when I'm ready to publish it, I just click publish. Now that information is live. If I want to give a link, let's say I've never posted this link before, I can share the form, and this is my shareable link for people that are going to authenticate. And this is my shareable link for people who are going to fill this out anonymously. And I would just take this, I would copy this link and I would post it someplace on a website, or I could just go directly to it by clicking it into a URL. Any other questions about that? Okay, thank you. So let's go back to the form for a second. Notice that the email for Jamie shows up automatically. That's because this email is linked to the student name. Now I want to show you how that works. When I dropped student name on this form, student name was actually a smart gadget. So there are normal gadgets that aren't connected to enterprise data. But then you've also got smart gadgets, and those smart gadgets are connected to enterprise data, and you can control what data is available in those gadgets. So we have a smart gadget for student name that we dragged and put here. So there's student name. We connected it to your student information system. And once we did that, these fields show up that are associated with that smart gadget. So that's how I got the advisor information and the email information. Let's say that we wanted to have the postal code for Jamie. I would just take this smart gadget because I've dropped this field on the form. I can now drop postal code on the form as well. Now notice the drop, I'm doing it very slowly so you can see, like, you know, all that information, where the drop zones are. So it's super easy to know where you're putting this. I'm going to put it right there. And notice again, it's already connected to the student named Jamie. So it pulls her postal code. So if I logged in as somebody else, then another name would show up there and a completely different advisor email address and postal code. It also knows her current program. So it knows from information that she's a double major in English and mathematics. So let's say she wants to change from English to history. She starts typing history and it's pulling this information out of our curriculum management system. So it's automatically integrated with the Kuali curriculum management system. You could do an integration with other systems. So if you're a CourseLeaf customer or a DigArt customer or whatever, we could pull information out of those curricular systems or from the student information system or from any system that has an API. So I'm going to pick history, and it knows automatically that the history department or the history program is in the history department. And that'll be important when we go to the workflow. Okay. So that gives you a little bit of feel for how gadgets work and also how smart gadgets work. Again, smart gadget is the ability to take a field, put it on the form, and then connect it to a data source. And it can be to Kuali data, or it can be to other external data sources. And these are integrations that you can create without writing any code. And I'll show that in a minute. So let's look at workflow. This workflow is completely configurable. So you have the ability to take one of these steps and drag them into the workflow. The steps are approvals, an acknowledgement, and that just means that somebody has to say, I saw this, but they don't get to vote on yes, it gets approved, or no, it doesn't get approved. A notification, which is where we just send an email to somebody without the ability to approve to let them know that something happened. A branch where we can say, well, if this happens, go this way in the workflow, and if this happens, go this other way in the workflow. And an integration. So an integration is where you actually create some kind of integration that with the student information system or something like that. So let me go through each one of these. Let's say that I want to put a new approval. Well, let me go through the workflow we have currently. The submitter submits, and so we send the submitter a notification. And this notification, when you drag and drop the notification here, you can just drag and drop it like that. So let me delete that one. I've already done it here. Who will receive the notification? You can choose. It could be a person in a role or a group in a group hierarchy. What that means is I could send a notification to, let's say, send the notification to whomever is the administrator for the program of the person who sent this. That complexity in the workflow is really powerful and something our competitors don't do. So if you want to be able to base the workflow on a specific role and have that role be based on a certain group and have all of that information keyed off of who logged in, that's a capability and it's really powerful. It's what allows us to do the next, we send this to the submitter, and then you have the ability within the email subject and in the email body to send them a specific email and have verbiage that is based on variables. So in the subject, we say, your program change for the requested program has been received. And in the email body, it says, thank you for your program change request, comma, student name. So you have the power to be able to configure these email notifications however you'd like to configure them, including using variables. So after we send the notification to the student to let them know, thanks for submitting your program change request, then we have a branch. So the first approval in the branch is the college. So what we say is we dragged this approval inside this branch. If I wanted to drag another one, I could just do it just like this. So now there's another approval. So this first approval is for the college dean. Your workflow would be much more complicated than that, but let's say that this goes directly to the college dean. Then we key this off of a person in the role or group of the program that that person is requesting, and send it to whomever the dean is for that particular program. And then what happens if it gets denied? Well, I can have a custom step, or I can just do nothing if it gets denied and kick it back to them. And then I can either stop the workflow or continue the workflow at that point. So those are just some examples. We also have some really sophisticated group response options. So you could say, well, we don't want to send it to the dean. We want to send it to the curricular committee in the program. So in that case, we want, you must have at least 80% of that curricular committee respond, and at least 60% of those, or 51% of those, have to approve. So you have the ability to set up groups and have those groups pre-configured, and then set up voting rules for those groups for things like number that must respond, number that have approved, and so forth. And I mentioned you can customize an email notification. So in this email notification, we can send an email. In this case, it's to the dean that says, in the subject, such and such has requested this program. And you could include other variables such as the student name, the student GPA, the student, the current program, the requested program. All of this information is information that you can include in the email to make it easier for people who are receiving these requests to know, well, what's the priority? Do I need to respond to this right now or not? So we feel like those notifications are quite powerful and really important. There's a question from John. Are you able to have files uploaded to the forum and those files attached to the email notification in the workflow? So I'm going to need Shannon's help. We can attach files in the forum. Let me show you that. So we're going to have a file upload. So I'll take this file upload and I'm going to put it right there. And now when somebody fills out this form, they'll have a select a file drop down. And when they click on it, they'll get a list of files that they can actually pull from their local computer.
So to answer that, you can't, so if they upload a file to the form, you can't attach the uploaded file to a notification. However, you can create a PDF of the whole form itself and attach that to the notification. So it wouldn't include the uploaded files, but it would include the form, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a really good question. It's actually a really good feature idea. Like, I'd like to know how many of our customers would want that, the ability to actually attach the attachment in the email. We find that most people just want the information that's in the form, but I can see some use cases where you'd want an attachment. For example, if they have to scan something from home in order to be able, let's say it's an admissions app, and you want people to scan something from home and include that and have the attachment show up in the email. I could see the need for that if it's not information that you don't want in an email system. Thanks for the question. Okay, so in this route, we say the route will run, this default route will run always, unless if all of the following are true, then we want it to go to a specific person. So if you're in the history department, if you're in the history department, we always want you to go to Myra. Like, she has been around for 25 years, 45 years, and she's always the one that approves these program requests. So we're going to make this special route just for Myra, and it's only if the requested program is the history department. You can set lots of different routes and different rules associated with these different routes. There's another question, Michael Oatley. Email attachment is a requirement on some of our applications. Oh, email attachment is a requirement. Okay, that's something we would need to talk about. That's something we could potentially do with an integration, but we'd want to talk to you about that, Michael, to talk about how we would do that. Thanks for the question. Okay, so, and then the last thing in this particular workflow is an integration. This integration is basically just saying, after we go through the process of getting approvals, then put that data back into the system. And we're going to put it into the student information system, which I'll show you how that works in just a minute. Basically, I dragged the integration here, and then I named it. This is the, let's say, the LMS integration, and I'm going to choose a service to integrate with, and then here are the different services that I could integrate with. That just gives you an example. Any questions on workflow? Oh, one other thing on workflow. One of the features that we recently created was the test feature. So this is a really important feature. We call it Workflow Simulator. The idea with the Workflow Simulator is if you've done much with workflow, it's really, really annoying to test. And if you think about, you have the ability to create very complex workflows. Let's say I have some approvals here, and I'm going to create a branch here, and I want to drag this branch into this other branch, but I want to have an acknowledgement here. There's a lot of power within this system to create very sophisticated workflows. The problem with that is that testing them becomes cumbersome if you've ever worked with another workflow package. Let me just clean this up. Notice how easy it was to drag and drop those. I love that. When you're trying to test it, you want to know, did the email go out to the person, and was the email formatted correctly, and different things like that. So that's what the test capability does. So Workflow Simulator allows you to run a test. So we're running a test. It presented the form as if a customer had logged in, and then it only forces you to log in the parts of the form that are required by the workflow. So in this workflow I built, the only thing you need to fill in is the requested program. So I'm going to fill that in, history. Now I can pick history, and I can submit that form. And then it's going to create the email. So your program change for history has been received. And it goes so on all the way through the process. It will take you through the various emails, through the various workflow steps, and you have the ability to actually test, is your workflow working correctly. All right, let me go to if there are any other questions about workflow before I move to integrations. Okay, so integrations. The integrations are created outside of the applications. So with an integration, if I go here and I just click on System API Integrations, here are the list of the integrations. And these integrations are basically ways to create a connection to a service without writing code. So let me just give you an example. Let's say that I want to look at curriculum management courses, curriculum management programs, because we were just using that. So you can create an integration name, you can create a description, and then you can indicate the type of integration it is. Remember, in the form, there were these gadgets that these smart gadgets that I could pull up. This is where you define a little bit about that. Are you getting a list? Or are you getting a single data item? Or are you sending data? So normally you have to write code to do all of that. Here you're just selecting it in the drop down or in the radio button. Then I can select what kind of method it is. And that's something in API documentation, when you're looking at your SIS or your learning management system, you'll be able to see in the API documentation, is this service a get, a post, or a put? So that's is it a create, a read, an update, or a delete? That's what those things kind of basically map to. And then you can just type in the URL. You can put in authentication information, either it's no authentication or basic authentication or bearer authentication. And then you put a little bit of information about the authentication. And then you select what data are you trying to get back, or what data are you passing into this API. So this is all information that normally you would have to write code to do. But here you just look at the API documentation, and it doesn't have to be a programmer, but it can be a programmer, comes in and creates this integration. And now the integration is available to be used. So now when I go back to the program request form, So I go back to the form and I drag this here. When I say choose, I'm just choosing one of those integrations that I just created. Are there any questions about integrations? Okay, and we'll leave a few minutes for questions at the end here. So this is a list of all the documents. So if you, as an administrator, if I want to see everyone that's ever filled out my form, and more importantly, I want to see where it is in the status, I have the ability to do that right here. So I can choose what columns I want to see. So I've chosen just by clicking this little eyeball that I want to see the requested program, or I don't want to see the requested program. So that removes it, that adds it back. So all these columns I selected to see, and it shows me the submitted app, the time, the student name, the advisor, the current program, the requested program, the total runtime that it was in workflow, the current status, has it been completed or not completed, the time on the current step, how many days has it been waiting in that particular step? And then I can actually take actions. If I want to, as an administrator, I can go into the form for that particular thing. I can delete that, or I can view it. So that just gives you a little feel for the types of things that you can do in the view. To me, the most powerful step is the time on current workflow and the current workflow status. It enables me, if I need to move things along or call somebody or whatever. Is there a default, John asks, is there a default column for who submitted a particular form, or does it just look at the fields available from the form? It can do either one. So in the column, you can actually, if I've dragged the field on the form, which is submitted by, then I can key off of the submitted by field. If instead I have a different field where somebody typed in the name that form is happening for, I could put that here instead. So I could either key this off submitted by, or I can key it off of a text box that is a name that maybe somebody typed in and it pulled the information from my student information system or from my identity system. I hope I answered that question, John. All right, I'm going to stop now. I've shown you a lot of stuff. This is just the action list. So if you want to see a list of things that are waiting for me to do something, this is where I would go to see that. So this is not where the administrator goes in order to look at all of the forms that have been filled out, but this is the action list that an individual person goes to. This could be faculty, it could be a student, it could be staff, goes to see the things that are waiting for them to fill something out. And then this is searchable. So if I'm looking for a certain a particular form that I need to approve, or a particular person that filled out a form, I can search that here. So let me stop now and see if there are any questions. We just have a few minutes left, and I want to make sure we answer whatever questions you have. You've probably heard this, but so there's just there's a lot of excitement about this product. This has become kind of a standard add-on for our curriculum management and catalog customers, because in the middle of an implementation, you have an idea of some form that you want. And that's not what curriculum, that particular type of thing that you want to do may not be what we built curriculum management to be able to do. And so you want to just do whatever you want, create a form, and you want the power and flexibility of a fully robust, configurable forms and workflow tool. And that's what this is. You have the power to create your own forms, create your own integrations, create your own notifications, and create your own workflows to be able to create what it is you want. And of course, we help you with that. Shannon is an expert at helping to figure out how to automate processes in your process. And then we have curriculum management and catalog customer success engineers as well, who can help you figure that out as part of your implementation process. But it really puts the power in your hands. All right, there are a couple of questions. So the question is, can the action list be sorted by step? What needs to be approved? Yes, all of these columns can be sorted. So you just click on the column and you can change the order that it's sorted and created. And over time, this will actually get more, this will become a richer experience. That one of the things we're looking at is the possibility of turning this list. Never mind, I don't want to make any promises. We're looking to make this to improve the experience over time. And as Danny talked about, one of our hallmarks of our company is that we really focus on adding value continually. So you're seeing new things all the time. In fact, this up here, this what's new, Whenever there are new features, a little icon shows up here to let you know. It's a little blue icon that tells you that there are new things. When you click on it, it will show you all the new stuff. And you'll notice we shipped something new 2 weeks ago, and we shipped 4 weeks ago, and more stuff a month ago, and 3 months ago, and so on. So you have all of these new improvements, bug features, enhancements, and announcements that you can see right here in the app to know what's going on. So there are some more questions. As this is continuous development, will the action list, this is from Mr. Newman. As this is continuous development, will the action list perhaps be subdivided into things such as drafts, approvals, acknowledgements, rather than a large list? I imagine the search allows that, but perhaps some toggleable views. You hit on what I didn't want to talk about, but yes, over time, and I don't want to talk about any time frames, but over time, this list will become richer, and you'll see a richer set of data that you can key off of. Thanks for asking that question. Another question. How can you add helpful text to a form field that gives users additional information that they may need to properly complete that field? You totally can. So let me go to that. So let's go to this program change request. So here's a form, and under reason for change, I'm going to go and click in descriptive text, and I'm going to say, please make sure you have adequate documentation for your request. This is important, and I'm going to make that bold. Underline, I'm going to make it red and bold. So now you see it shows up under here. So that descriptive text just makes it a little easier to make sure that your form is really easy to use, and they're not going to pick up the phone and call you. And the nice thing about this, you don't have to talk to a developer. You just go in and type this, and when you're done, you're going to publish the changes. And once you make all your changes, you publish them, and you're good to go. Thank you for asking that question. Are there any other questions? I'm not looking at the chat, so if there's anything in the chat, y'all read those out. I'm just looking at the question.
You're good, Joel.
Okay, great.
Joel, we are 5 minutes over, so I am going to cut off questions at this time. This is, as you might imagine, and as it might be coming across, this is one of we're so excited about Build. We could talk about Build all day long and talk about all the different things, and Joel and I both are very, very excited to share it with you at any point. I'm going to share my screen just really quickly to summarize our session here. And we do have a couple of quotes from our partner institutions. I will leave these in the recording for you to come back to at a later time to read, but I do want to end with a pro tip to remind you that to use the data you already have in curriculum management, as well as any other systems by leveraging Kuali's open APIs to retrieve the data and reduce redundant data entry is one of the most powerful things you can do with Build. So to ask the question and a little call to action, what will you build? And as a reminder, I believe today is the last day for our Kuali Build contest to win the free Build application and 2 years of service. So make sure to scan that QR code and tell us what you'll automate. And we also want to invite you to rate this session on Socio. If you then click right at the right now at the top of your session screen to let us know and give feedback on this session, and also what you would like to see going forward as we continue to expand Kuali Days and meet our partner institutions where they are.
Danny, can I just, there's
Yes.
one that's important I want to bring up. As you'll notice, for those of you who are curriculum management customers, you'll notice that the workflow is virtually identical. And that's something that you'll see going forward. You'll see more and more we're sharing technology between our different applications. And that's intentional. We want this to be a consistent user experience, but we also want to use all the best practices to build into all of our applications across our entire suite. Thanks for letting me say that, Danny.
Oh, no, that's a great point to make. Thank you for adding it. So finally, then ultimately, thank you. We appreciate and value your feedback that you provided throughout Kuali Days, and we are so grateful that you joined us today. Thank you for your time and your questions, and we very much look forward to seeing what you will build. Thanks all.